when it comes to discussing Brexit or even trying to have a conversation about it, that you get to this point where you realise there's nothing to actually talk about. And I know that sounds strange coming from a channel that does talk about non-stop about Brexit, and we do talk about other things in British politics, but when we come to talking about Brexit itself, you're not talking about set ideas and policies. Like a policy for Britain should be, for example, well, we've left the European Union, so we are now going to replicate the lost trade we've gone through doing this, and this. The problem is there is no plan. There never was really a plan for Brexit in the first place, and there certainly isn't a plan for post-Brexit Britain. As we said before, there are currently two big ideas in the Conservative Party: the levelling up agenda and the global Britain agenda. And the thing is, one cannot succeed without undermining the other. And there is at some point going to be an almighty clash between the two sides that support these ideas. And if you saw his Boris's very piffling, it's the best word to describe it, the piffling announcement he had on Tuesday of his big defence review and how we were going to go, east of the Aden again, and beyond Suez, and strike a new progression. This doesn't really have an idea beyond being, we're just going to put a ship somewhere in the Indo-Pacific region. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Profit. That's essentially what it is. And this is now what we're being ruled by. People who are putting forward ideas, but not solutions to problems that we need to solve. This is part of the problem, especially with this government. So today we're going to have a look at a criticism of this, because this is what I've said for a while. Brexit is ideas, not policies, and you need policies to back up your ideas. So before we jump into that, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And thank you to all those people that do support me that way. So, on with the article. So this comes from The Guardian, and the title is, "Like Brexit, Boris Johnson's vision for global Britain is an idea, not a policy." Defence reviews and foreign policy resets come and go in British politics. Some of their conclusions struggle to survive sustained contact with the real world, and most are remembered only by defence specialists and whatever armed service does well or badly out of the reordered spending in each review's core purpose. Occasionally, however, there is a substantial exception. A defence review that embodies a real strategic decision that resonates across the years, both in the wider world and at home. Labour's 1968 East of Suez withdrawal white paper was a notable example. It marked a major step in dismantling of Britain's post-imperial role, and it arriving in the wake of Brexit, Boris Johnson's integrated review for foreign and defence policy this week had the potential to be another. In the new review titled "Global Britain in a Competitive Age," it proves to be no such thing. This is not to imply that it has no value. On the contrary, the review is a genuinely interesting read, with other things to teach, not at least on cyber and AI. One Tory MP widely praised for aspiring to coerce that coherence if someone striking emissions were only filled in, would provide a good starting point for incoming Labour government if there ever was one. The review will be certainly important for the armed services and industries that benefit from its conclusions. But there remains a fulfillment disconnection between the review's often serious ambition and its more materialist political uses, particularly in Johnson's hands. It was a disjunction that was always incoherent in the exercise itself. The review's purpose was to offer a fresh coherence for Britain's foreign defence and aid policies in the wake of its self-expulsion from the European Union. The need for such an exercise was self-evident. Since 1945, Britain had seen itself as the European rock on which the transatlantic alliance with the United States rested. But Brexit has wrecked Britain's credibility in Europe, hence the government's recourse to commit to global Britain. A glib post-imperial phrase lacking the context that the review was tasked with actually supplying. This was never going to be easy. In spite of Brexit, Britain remains a European nation. Its trade, culture, security and prosperity are always going to be bound up with Europe. Yet, the review's underlying purpose was to justify turning our backs on the continent we share. There is, therefore, a hole in the middle where Europe should be. The continent is treated as a security commitment, largely for NATO-related reasons, but it is not treated as important in any other context. The policy toward Europe is one of complete flat denial. In the recess of the review, it is true that there are some brief sections about Europe, though. A paragraph about France, another about Germany, a third about Ireland, but in more than 100 pages, there is only a very handful of references to the EU itself, without which these bilateral relationships can more easily be understood or even developed. Spain is mentioned once. Belgium, for whom Britain went to war with a century ago, is not even mentioned at all. Where Europe is absent from the review, Asia is suddenly present. The concept has been so called into existence to readdress the self-inflicted imbalance in Europe. Britain is so-called tilt toward Asia is absorbing much of the learned attention. You can occupy your entire week attending online seminars about the different aspects of it, but the tilt is gentle, and it does not amount to a very grand strategy. Every economically developed nation and trade alliance is already in the same game. The US, with its which at least borders the Pacific, has been doing all this for the last 20 years. All Britain is going to try and do is try to get some deals which will never replicate the lost trade on our doorstep. In reality, the Indo-Pacific region, of which so much is being made, does not even exist as such. The Indo-Pacific is little more than a speculative sweep of the Prime Minister's hand across the map of the world hanging on the Foreign Office wall. Britain is not in reality about to become a major power in the Pacific. China is not about to change its ways because Johnson has committed the UK's expensive new aircraft carrier fleet to the South China Sea, pretending that he is engaged in 21st century gunboat diplomacy. Nor has his review clarified many of the most acute and difficult current issues that he sought to take control over. The policy towards China is no more clearer than before. China is a hostile state or merely a systemic challenge. Many Tories believe the former. The review says the latter. If Britain stands for values as well as interests, as the review says, how does that square with continuing arms sales to Saudi Arabia, Turkey and the Gulf states? If such allies see the US, see the purpose of nuclear weapons as a deterrence, why does Britain now think that it could be used against cyber or technological threats? This hardly fits with Britain's role in trying to prevent Iranian proliferation. In Johnson's brief common speech launching the review, he gave a clear indication of the extremely limited and opportunistic political purpose of the exercise, as he sees it. It was a terrible cliché speech. It contained no detail or any attempt at setting a strategy. The EU was not alone in going unmentioned. He said nothing about Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, and Donald Trump and Joe Biden might as well not have even existed. So the unchanging way of the analysis of the US's role in the world. Johnson had very little to say about global strategy because, in truth, he has no such strategy. Or rather, because his strategy is to play to the domestic gallery. The deeper object of the exercise did not go beyond one of Johnson's presumably tasked Professor John Berwin in his review team with supplying, "We have left the EU. Russia is a problem, so is China. We have got nuclear weapons and a new aircraft carrier. Please provide me with a foreign and defensive speech to fit these disconnected facts." What matters with Johnson, though, is always the performance, not the substance. Any passing attempt to try and explain what global Britain actually is, means, or was, as usual, is just a gas balloon. You soon sense the feeling. One over sketch writer observed this week that Johnson's universally tutorial partners must have become familiar when he read out a student essay that he had simply not done the reading. But this is Johnson's way. It always has been. And in an important sense, it is also his skill. Global Britain, like Brexit, is an idea, not a policy. What matters to Johnson is to please his supporters, and he does this by spurning Europe, and perhaps by implying that Britannia rules the waves. Both are historic and particularly Tory emotions. You don't have to look far back at the modern political history of Britain to see that it's working for him. The most important question is to whether it will work for the next decade, especially once Johnson decides to step down and spend more time with his money. So, interesting speculation there. Definitely at the end, the idea of will Johnson step down? Like I say, we are coming up potentially to the next departure date that I've set for Johnson, but it could be very well possible that Johnson may well step down sometime in the summer so that there can be a leadership election at the next Tory conference. Entirely possible. Like I say, it's not the first time that we're hearing rumours or rumbles that Johnson might be leaving. We'll have to see. We will have to see, but we do know that Johnson is not having fun as being Prime Minister. It turns out this giant wizard wheeze that he always expected wasn't quite turning out how he wanted, and quite frankly, I think the question of him, shall we say, getting out before the bubble bursts could very well become, I think, his number one priority. Which, again, is not going to be too much of a surprise, because Johnson can always then sit on the sidelines and just say, well, we had Brexit all tied up. It was going all well and swimmingly, and then Gove came along and took over and, mucked it all up. Or, Sunak came along and mucked it all up, just because that's what the Tory leadership race is going to be. It's going to be probably between one of those two people, and we'll have to wait and see what that brings, because that, I'm sure, will be fun, because Tory leadership races are always fun. But apart from that, thank you for watching as always. Please do remember to hit that like and share button, and of course down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link, and as always, we'll see you all next time.